Now, think back on your career. What was the most challenging thing throughout those 40 years?
Hmm. And this just might be, the nostalgic memory of 40 years. I don't remember teaching being difficult because I always believed that's why I was on the planet, was to be a teacher. So
Wow.
when challenges came forth, I was like, oh, that's just part of the training program. You wanted to be a teacher, and it just doesn't mean you're teaching something in a classroom. So I chose, after years of embracing those moments, and the most difficult thing is grading repetitive essays. I would say that is the worst part of teaching, is grading essays over and over and over and over again.
What was the best thing about teaching?
The students, I just love watching them figure things out, and I enjoy watching kids struggle to make sense of the world because I think it's important that kids learn how to struggle and come to the other side of their own understanding. So that was always my favorite part, the kids.
How could we make schools better?
They need more funding.
Yes.
Anytime there's new expectations placed on a public institution, they should get the funding to go with it. So if you're going to ask schools to do something, um, create funding that matches the ask. But I would like to return to what public schools are intended to do. A public education is designed to prepare kids to publicly function in the world. And public schools have become what sometimes people, I've heard them call it the last refuge of everything. Like if social and emotional problems aren't getting met at home because they can't, well, we'll take that on. And if you're not getting fed, we'll take that on. And if you don't have an educational institution that can provide for your special needs, we'll take that on. And I don't mind any of that. I don't want to sound as if that is um, not necessary, because it is. Those things are necessary. But if that's going to happen, then the funding should accompany the ask. And then I would like to have the accountability measures be brought back. I think it's the worst message we ever send to children, that you don't have the skills to succeed, but we're going to move you along, as opposed to saying, you don't have the skills, you're not there quite yet, and so we're going to backfill, we're going to do some special things to make sure you're on task when you get to the next grade. But we don't want to send you into ninth grade and have you drown because you can only read at a third grade level. I just think that is,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I go so far as child abuse, but it's neglect. Because as the institutions, we did not have a workable model that said, well, little Joey here in third grade is not ready to go to fourth grade, but we're going to keep moving on because he'll catch up eventually. Well, they don't. They're
Mm-hmm.
constantly chasing that academic tail. And I just think that is horrible, horrible, horrible. And again, that takes money.
Right.
So then they get to high school where I would have them, and I get kids in ninth grade that have a third grade reading level. I don't know how to teach to a kid with a third grade reading level. And so I've struggled with the message we send to kids that your failing is okay because you're not worth investing in. Because that's what I think they internalize.
So,
Yeah.
what would you say to a new teacher starting, well, let's say this fall, when who knows what's going on? What advice could you give a teacher entering the profession?
A new teacher, I'd say, this is bliss because you have nothing to compare it to. So it's only going to go up from here. And if this is what you believe you want to do, because people tried to talk me out of teaching too, and I just wouldn't do it. I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of kids that students taught of me felt the same way. So do it. Remember that if you run into a bad administration, you will outlive the bad administration. And then listen a lot. Listen, listen, listen for your first few years of teaching. You will not have all the answers, nor should you, and it takes about 5 years to get your legs underneath you. And you will feel a large sense of personal responsibility that you got to have every kid succeed. It's not possible, and you'll just take some time for you to get some thick skin because everything hurts for quite a long time when you're
Mm-hmm.
first starting out, and that's okay. It's just a reflection of how much you care about your students.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll have to get thicker skin, and you'll constantly need to reassess your strategies. New ideas come forth all the time. They're very similar, these new ideas, they have new names on them. But do what you know is best and do what works. And you don't have to grab hold of every bright, shiny object that comes through. Because you'll gain an internal wisdom over your experiences, your successes, and your failures that will guide you and create, frankly, that foundation of knowledge I talked about with kids, the foundation of knowledge that you will have with your students.